On my first day of my first military assignment, after initial training, I learned a very important lesson about my face. See, I have a face that wants to smile. It smiles when I'm happy, of course, but it also smiles when I'm embarrassed or when I feel guilty. I think it's called a sheepish grin. My face just smiles when it doesn't know what else to do. And it's led to a lot of people asking me a lot of times, do you think this is funny? Now, 90% of the time, a smile is a wonderful thing to have. But the other 10% have gotten me into trouble too many times, particularly in the military. But let me give you a little background on how I proceeded to have problems with the smile. For example, when I was a young kid, my mother would often yell at me, deservedly so, and say something like, "Randy, what have I told you about spray painting your little brother?" And I would just look up at her, and this grin, this guilty grin would come across my face, and I wouldn't know what to say. And she'd say, "Do you think this is funny?" Well, I did kind of think spray painting my brother was a little bit funny, but this interrogation from my mother was not funny at all. I just hoped, since I couldn't control the grin, that it might cheer her up a little bit, but no such luck. She just got angrier. And then even as I got older, I had like a summer job as camp counselor. And when the kids would get out of order, I would yell at them and I'd say, "Stop yelling, stop running, stop cutting in line." But I always had this big grin on my face. So kids always assumed that whatever they were doing, I also thought was funny. And they just kept on doing it. So this culminated, as I said, on my first day in my first real assignment in the military. I was 22 years old, and I was sent overseas to Germany as a new second lieutenant in the Army. And I was assigned to a combat engineer battalion, where we did a lot of demolitions and building obstacles on the battlefield was our mission. So my first day there, my platoon was scheduled to have our tool room inspected by the battalion commander. So I show up not really knowing what's going on, but I'm there, and the commander's finding a number of deficiencies. There's a missing shovel, a missing sledgehammer. There's these very important demolition detonating devices that are there, but they're in the wrong tool kits. So it takes the platoon about 15 minutes to find them. So afterwards, the battalion commander is going through his list of deficiencies with me, and this kind of sheepish grin breaks out on my face as I'm listening to him. And he looks at me and he says, "Lieutenant Schulz, do you think this is funny?" And I've got this big smile that I can't control on my face. And I say, "No, sir." And he looks at me and he says, "Do you realize that attention to detail and readiness can save the lives of you and your men and others who are depending on our capabilities? If we don't do this right, people die." And it's like, "Yes, sir. Lieutenant Schulz, you seem to be finding this all too amusing. I'm not sure you're taking it as seriously as it deserves." "No, sir, I do, sir. Yes, sir." The battalion commander let me go. He realized that I was trembling inside, that I probably took it serious, but there was no way to read that on my face. So about a week later, he was going to re-inspect, but that night I went back to my room and I practiced making serious military faces in the mirror. And it wasn't natural for me. So I had to wrestle the corners of my grin down and it felt like I was trying to imitate a bulldog or something. But I got it, and I just practiced and practiced until I committed this serious face to muscle memory. And a week later, when the colonel inspected our tool room again, he found that everything was there and in order. And not only that, I kept a serious face all the way through the inspection. And as he was left, I was thinking, man, double victory here. I not only got the tool room right, but I also finally wrestled this renegade smile of mine into some kind of submission. So, and that experience paid off not only then, but it also helped me learn about my face so that I could come up with a business negotiating face and a dad face and a poker face even. And I also really appreciated that battalion commander because he wasn't a rough guy. He was a good officer and educator. And I enjoyed the time with him, and he was like the many men and women in our military who committed his career to our country. And I was very appreciative and grateful for him. There's a song that goes, when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. Well, I found that's not always true. But I say, why not smile? Just not too much. Good night, everybody.